everyone.
Welcome everyone. So as usual, if you have any question, just raise your hand.
This is Seb, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right, guys. I have a quick question. Is it possible to like initialize an array at X size or no?
Yes, it's possible. There is a method called array.init, which takes two parameters. It takes the size of the array you want to init and the value you want to put inside. So you can init an array, but only with the same values. So like an array with, I don't know, 10, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. You can do that. And
Right. So
yeah.
just to add to that, so if you want to put in a static value, you use the array.init method. If you want to generate the value dynamically, you use the array.tabulate method. So in tabulate, you can pass a function that will iterate over some value that you provide, and you can generate the uh, array members dynamically.
Okie dokie. Thanks, guys.
Yes, hi, good morning. My question is related to minting. When we upload an image of the digital art, we want to get an unique token ID. Is that right?
Yeah, you want a unique token ID because usually so the user and the token ID are linked together. So it's like each user owns some token IDs, and the token ID is then linked to other meta information or like a picture. So you want unique token ID, yes.
Okay, all right. So, but at the same time, we might have a multiple places website where I can, expose my piece of art in different places. How we can guarantee that we are going to receive the same token ID?
So, I mean, you want to know, like all like.
You create a place where I can for NFTs. So I can upload to your web place to place, but many others are doing the same thing, and people might buy in different places. But the digital piece is the same. Supposedly, I should have to get the same unique token ID in every places.
So you need to add the canister ID. So you need to take into account the canister ID. So each project is represented by the canister ID, and within one project you have different token IDs. But yeah, for example, like two different projects might have token ID number 4, and for token ID number 4, they have like a different picture for sure. But yeah, you need to take into account the canister ID if you want like to make something that is interoperable between different projects. You would do it with you would take into account the principle, the canister ID.
But the canister ID, every project has their own canister ID, right?
Yeah, the canister ID is unique for each canister on the internet computer.
Yeah, I understand that. But the thing is, the canister ID we're talking about is the projects canister IDs. So I'm gonna receive different tokens for the same digital image, right? Because everyone is gonna be based on their own canister.
I'm not sure to get it. Maybe
So
Saikat, you do you understand? I'm not sure to understand. Sorry.
Yeah, even I'm having a bit of difficulty understanding the question. Do you have some sort of example, or maybe like a Motoko playground that we can look at?
No, well, it's just the way to think how it works is if you have a place A where I can post my images, you're gonna mint my image and I'm gonna get the canister ID. But maybe other people, maybe some of you might have a different place with which is a different project, which has a different canister ID or different canister. And if I post to them, I'm gonna get a different token ID.
Yeah.
So what is this token ID you're referring to? What is the token ID?
The token ID is the unique token for my image.
Yeah, it's every time you mint something in like an NFT canister, you increase the token ID by 1, and like each object has a token ID. Yeah, I understand what you mean. So the question is like, okay, so you can totally have like different projects with different canisters that mint the same image or the same video. I mean,
right.
This is the same problem as people saying, yeah, I can use your profile picture even if it's an NFT. You know, the property is the property of the digital asset is certified by the token ID, by the fact that the person owns the token ID. But you can totally have like two different canister that would say like, okay, this picture belongs to this person and the same picture belongs to another person in another project. It's the problem of NFTs, but it's
I think
more...
I sort of understand what you're trying to say. So
yeah,
the way I look at this, right? So it's like it depends on what you're trying to do with that NFT. So say for example, if I purchase an NFT and I display it on my profile picture and Seb right clicks my profile picture, saves it locally, and then also uses it as a profile picture, the stakes are not that high. So I wouldn't really care. I mean, he's using it, it's fine. Everybody in the world gets to see that we both have the same NFT as our profile picture, which is okay. But if somebody, let's say you were trying to buy it off me, you would simply not accept the fact that if I just gave you a link and said I own this, right? You would actually use something like a trusted intermediary, in this case like Entrepot, who has listed that. So basically you will verify that I own the cryptographic hash of that particular picture, and only when you have verified, then the stake is high, right? Because you're trying to purchase it from me using ICP or whatever. But in that case, you will go through that verification process and then we can transfer the NFT. So in that case, it matters.
No, but this no in a way, because if I upload a picture in somebody else's project, I'm gonna get a token ID. It should be unique. If I upload the same picture in a different project, I'm gonna get a different token IDs. Both are unique, but it should be exactly the same one. Because the reason of thinking of this is someone is gonna buy my digital art, okay? So I sell that based on that this is unique, you own that. It's based on the token ID. But if I post, because I'm a really bad guy, I post my piece of art in different places. Everybody gonna buy the piece of art, spend money on that, but they're not unique. So someone is buying copies of the same thing. So I cheating people, and people is buying in good faith that they pay for the piece of art, but many people have the same piece of art. And
I totally understand. So you're touching like a problem of NFT, but I think it's because you need to take into account the infrastructure that goes with NFTs. So for the moment, we don't have a lot of websites and like platforms that actually check the authenticity and the ownership of NFTs. But for example, let's say I take my project ICP Squad, and someone like on the internet computer completely copy my art, copy the project, and just create a new minter where people can basically mint for free what we propose on the website, but for one ICP. It would be the sorry, let me just finish. It would be the exact same art, but I wouldn't take this canister into account for like whatever game I'm trying to construct, you know. I wouldn't ask this canister for ownership. This canister wouldn't have any one or any project surrounding it to basically back up what they are saying. So it's a kind of a problem of which canister is the most trusted. So for example, right now on the internet computer, everything that is on Entrepot is kind of considered secured and trustworthy because it went through different verification. But yeah, you can totally like create something.
But the thing is, if I do that, if I have a different project, a canister, and someone upload the image to your project, and they do the same thing to my project, I'm not doing anything wrong. It's my canister. I do the same project that you do. As we are fine, we are good people. The thing is, the system is not protecting the buyer.
The system will know, because the system will have like a let's for example take the example of Discover. So Discover has different portals, and each portal represents like a community NFT project. And basically they check the ownership of a collection before like giving access to the portal. But they do that by checking the canister ID that is represented by the project. So even if you mint the same picture, you wouldn't get access because the canister is the source of authority. And even if there is another canister somewhere doing exactly the same thing, the canister ID is unique, and it's basically up to it's up to Discover to check the right canister. But I wouldn't see any possibility for.
So is one FNT in a computer? That's the only way to work. Only one project, one canister for all FNTs?
No, you can have multiple canister, but what I'm trying to explain is that you need basically to ask, like, each project that is trying to act with NFTs and everything will check the ownership by asking one canister or multiple canister maybe. But someone that would create a new canister with the same piece of art, it's totally possible right now. There is no protection.
Okay.
But the problem is that this project wouldn't be integrated with any other project. It wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. Like, for example, if I were to do that and ask Entrepot to like integrate with their front end or whatever, they would just refuse me because there is already a project with the same, it would be clear that it's a copy, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's a big problem because even later,
the concern that you raised, it's actually a very valid concern, and I think this is sort of like it can even be like a product idea or a problem that you're trying to solve, because this is not specific to the IC. I think this exists everywhere. So right now, I remember this example where IC Punks was one of the first NFTs to get minted on the IC, and what happened was some people who did not purchase IC Punks, they got a hold of the images from the canisters being displayed, and they copied and uploaded those to OpenSea. And then there were many scams where people were claiming like IC Punks, like they were the original owners of IC Punks and they were trying to sell it using Ethereum on OpenSea. And this happened, right? So like, I think what you're referring to is a problem that exists. And if you have maybe like some ideas on how to solve it, I think this sounds like a good problem to try and solve, which can even turn into a product.
How Ethereum solved the problem? How the other blockchain approaches have solved this problem, or they still having it?
I don't think like there is one clear solution to such a problem, because like every blockchain and even different protocols under every blockchain will probably have some different mechanism of like coming up with the hashes for these content, right? So if it's a digital piece of digital art, ultimately it is hashed and that hash comes up. So if the hash is different, essentially, right, you are getting different hashes on different chains, and then there's no real way to sort of verify this across chains. So the only way for you as a consumer or as an NFT art buyer to verify is to go to those sources where you trust the source. So in this case, like, you know, Entrepot works with the actual creators of the art, and they list those creators of the art, and then they verify the canister ownership and everything. So you trust Entrepot to do the due diligence, and then you can buy from.
But this is not trust, because it's if you have a place, you're in good faith. You're not doing nothing wrong. It's just I trust you, but you are uploading copies of some piece of art, and you have no way to know that you're doing right. So it's not about trust. It's about the system to protect you also as a project, to not to allow things. Even when you hashing an image, even when you're hashing an image, the bad guy can make a tweak in a pixel, so you're gonna have a different hash, and then so you can post many different places the same FNT and sell multiple times the same copy. So this is a big problem to me. I don't know.
I think it's a problem. Like, it's not even a technical problem for me. I don't see it as a like technical thing. Maybe
no, it's not.
There is things that could be solved technically, but it's, let's say you launch a collection and you say, okay, I sell all pictures that are blue, just blue. I sell all pictures that are red, just red. Like, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Like, who are you, like, to tell that the picture that is just full of blue pixel is yours? This is like exactly the same problem. I mean, you can sell basically, you can create an NFT basically of everything, but you need some level of trust to say, this is my project and I can sell it. Otherwise, you can sell like basically everything. I can sell like the black pixel. I can sell like the blue picture. I can sell anything that is like, I mean, it's just.
But and again, the project is not the bad guy. The bad guy is the one that is trying to sell the image, because it posted in many different places, playing the game, playing to the system to gather more, make a copy or gather much more money from different places with only one piece of art. It's a scam. So you're really trusted because you're really serious, but I'm not. I'm really a bad guy, and I'm doing to everybody the same thing. You have no way to check on me what I'm doing, or if I have done that before. So that's my point. But anyway, it looks like it's a challenge there.
Yeah. All right. Let's move to the next question. We have another question. We have someone is wondering the difference between array and buffer. Okay, so array versus buffers. An array, when you create an array, you determine the size at the moment of the construction of the array, and you cannot change it except if you create a new array. A buffer allows you to add elements inside the buffer. And yeah, that's it. And you can convert a buffer to an array. So if you want to add something, like if you want to make a loop and add elements, I would recommend using a buffer because it takes way less time than an array, like appending an element inside an array, because you would have to recreate the array every time you append a new element. Whereas a buffer, you just put it inside. But the problem of the buffer is that you cannot easily access. If you're looking for element number 5, it's more complicated to access it. I hope it answers the question.
Right. So just to add to that, so from an implementation perspective, it's a bit helpful to understand what is happening under the covers. So the thing is, with arrays, when it is, so you have these concepts of a stack and a heap inside your memory. So when arrays are actually created on the heap in your memory, what happens is they are allocated something called contiguous memory. What that means is, so if you have an array of nats, essentially you have the number of spaces required by a nat multiplied by the size of that array, and that entire space is allocated in the memory. So what happens is, then if you need to access any particular element in an array, what you need to just go to is the beginning of the array and then add however number of elements you want to access inside the array. So that becomes like a very fast lookup. But the problem in that case is when you try to add or subtract from that array, essentially you need to create a brand new space in memory and then allocate that space to the new array, because otherwise by the time you are trying to add or remove from an array, the surrounding spaces in the memory might have already been consumed. Whereas with something like a buffer, it probably uses a different kind of data structure under the cover so that it can do that. But in that case, then you have to start from the very beginning and traverse through the entire buffer to get to the item you want. So it's like it depends on your use case. If you're doing a lot of operations which require you to do fast lookups, then you would probably choose an array. But if you're doing something where you need to do additions or deletions, in that case, probably a buffer is a better example.
Okay, guys, so I think a lot of people are probably waiting for challenges of day 3. So maybe we can try, we can try to do it together, maybe, like the first few. Yeah, if there is no other question, we can try to do that for the 30 minutes. So the first function was to write, the first question was to write a private function, swap. It takes 3 parameters, so a mutable array, so like that. You should have read the guide before that explains the difference between Motoko OG. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there is a question. Considering 7 function. Wait, okay, so let's check. Maybe you want to raise your hand so you can explain the question a bit better. So considering 7 function, I know the value is 7, it's a NAT 8, right? Well, it can be represented as a NAT 8, but it can be represented as a NAT as well. But I cannot compare a NAT with a NAT 8. Okay, so you can.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so in my function 7 at the line 25th, so actually I declare 7 is a NAT and it's equal to 7, but actually it could be a NAT 8, right?
Yeah, it could be, but I mean, the challenge is to detect.
But I cannot compare a NAT and NAT8. Why?
You can. You need to convert the NAT8 to a NAT or the other way around. You need to
Yeah, so it's useless to declare it as a NAT8 if I have to migrate to NAT after.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I was wondering why I cannot, because normally it's just like I'm not sure to understand why I cannot compare. Like I understand I cannot. If I go
Have you tried it? I don't think it works, but just to be sure.
Yeah, I tried. So I have the error. So I have to declare it as a NAT. But in my mind, I should have like declared as a NAT8.
Yeah. So if someone wants to answer that, I think it's because of the memory representation or something like that.
So the way to think about this is, so the compiler is really dumb. Like it only understands specific things that you tell it. So if you think about this from this perspective, that if you tell the compiler that I want to compare between a NAT and a NAT8, to the compiler, that is the same thing as you saying I want to compare a boolean with a text value, right? For it is just looking at types and seeing that there is a type mismatch. That is the first thing. The second thing to understand over here is why will the compiler not allow this? The reason for this, if you think about it, so NAT8 can only have a range between 0 to 255, whereas a NAT has an unbounded limit. So if you had a NAT which was greater than 255 and you're trying to compare between the two, so the compiler has to do some sort of conversion to turn that NAT into a NAT8. But if the value is greater than 255, then what value should it take? Should it take 255? Should it take 0? Should it take any like average of all these values? What should it do? So it doesn't know. So hence in this case, it just errors. So you will sort of have to do that conversion manually, where you're using the library function to convert that NAT to a NAT8 or the other way around. So if you're converting from a NAT8 to a NAT, it is easy because 0 to 255, any such value can be represented in a NAT. So it can do that. But the other way conversion, you will have to handle the case where it is greater than 255.
But I'm not a developer, so I'm not really sure. But if I take an integer and a float, I can compare an integer, right? Because an integer is included in the float.
In Motoko itself?
Yeah, in any language, let's say in PHP maybe.
Are you sure? I don't think Motoko allows comparison between different operators. Maybe we can quickly try. Sorry, Seb, if you have, yeah, just maybe create a function and declare an int and a float inside it. Can you hover over that? Right. So what it is saying is basically these types are incompatible. However, they have a common super type of any. So it is giving you a warning. The reason is because you can convert any integer value into a float value. You just need to add the decimal places. So hence it is trying to be helpful in this case. But in most cases, you do not want to do this. You want to explicitly do the conversion beforehand and then do the comparison. So in this case, you can either do like an integer conversion, in which case you take your float value and remove the decimal points, or you can turn the integer into a float by adding the decimal points to it, and then do the conversion.
So what are the two? You can convert the float to an int if you take the. I guess if you take the decimal.
Right, like that is how you would do it. Like if
yeah.
You have to basically manually handle that case. where you're going to any one of the common types. Either you're doing converting one value to int, or you're converting the other value to float.
Is it so what would you take to get the int?
You can use round, you can use floor.
It's in the
so
int.
It depends on what your use case is.
Yeah, sure.
So
yeah, but
yeah.
Oh, there is a float to int. I don't use float too often. Okay. To int, float to int. Yeah. So we can convert. So do something like this. And Motoko prefer this this version than the previous one. Well, okay. So is it clear?
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Oh. Yeah. Need a detailed explanation about the shared type error and also difference between shared and non-shared types. There is a video. It was the lecture of SciCat about shared and non-shareable types. Maybe you want to take this one.
Sure. So let's just look at challenge 10 that they're pointing out. I think the rest of the challenges they're just pasted, but I think challenge 10 is where they're having a problem. Seb, do you remember what exactly challenge 10 was?
Yeah, so it's basically it's they have to create like the higher order contain function that can take any type and return like is there this value inside the array. And
so
yeah, that's it.
Got it. So in this case, so what they're trying to do over here is they have written a private function, and then they have a public function from where they're calling it. So the first thing that we can try is, let's make that private function a public function.
This one?
Yeah. Okay, let's get rid of the lower, the function below. Just, yeah.
You cannot do that here.
You can just comment it out.
Yeah, I can. How do you comment it out in Motoko Playground? Like the shortcut
control /
Yeah, it doesn't work
or
on
command
Mac.
/ in your case, I think. If you're on a Mac, I think it's command.
Yeah, it's the same as in VS Code. I mean, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
well,
it doesn't work? Okay.
No, it tried to.
That's okay.
It tried to do something else. Well.
Okay.
Well, let's just cut it.
That's okay. So the thing over here is this function that we are passing is of non-shared. So just add a shared before the parenthesis. So f : shared tt.
Oh.
No.
Yeah.
After the colon, yeah, shared space. And this has to be async, I think.
Yeah.
Also, one second. Before we make it async, no, it doesn't have to be async. This arrow is wrong. So it needs to be : over there. Make it a shared function. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's okay. You can do it, but it's not the problem, I think. So what do you want? You want to remove that?
No, this has to be a colon, right? There is no arrow in Motoko.
Yeah, I think. But I mean, it's.
What is the error now?
Unexpected token. So
maybe put the entire thing inside brackets, parentheses.
Like,
yeah,
like that.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take a look at this after the call.
Yeah, but
if
I
you
think
are aware of what the solution is, maybe we can discuss that.
there is a problem with the generic type. I think you cannot do that as a public function in an actor. You need to move it inside a module because you don't know if the type here is going to be shareable or not. So
okay, so hold on, come down. Yeah, I think even that can. So basically, you have to declare that as a shared type. If you are able to do that, you should probably be able to do. I'll maybe try on my own. Give me.
Do you think you can do that like that? I have never
it
seen
might
that.
be possible because we just need to satisfy the Motoko compiler. Let me try on my own. Give me a second.
Yeah.
If you have a different solution, go ahead and propose that. I'll see if I can make that work.
But I will put it inside a module because like I would do something like that. So contains. You can do that. No. So it seems to work. So let's test our function. Maybe we can have an array of length 2. We have 0, 1, 0, and we want to know if, wait, where is my, wait. We have 0, 1, 0, and the last value is the n we want to try. So let's see. Should get true, and if we put something else, should get false. So that seems to work. You need to put this function inside a module because the type here cannot be necessarily shared. So you need to put it inside a module, and then you can use it in your actor with the imports. I've called it utils. Yeah. This one was a bit tricky, I have to say. Was the challenge 10, so maybe if there is no question on that, you can move to challenge 1. Quickly explain what we're trying to do. So here it was just a swap question, and the goal was to basically think about that. So if you don't declare the variable temp, the temp variable, you will just replace G by E. And then if you want to replace E by G, the problem is that G has the value of E, so you're stuck. So that was the right move to do that. And again, variable nat is a mutable array, so you can change the values like that. You cannot do that with an array like that. Yes, it would throw an error. Expected mutable assignment target. Okay. So for challenge 2, yeah, that's a good idea. So the person is declaring a mutable array and basically changing all the values inside after it, and then freezing the array so it will transform the mutable array to an immutable one. That's what I was expecting. I think there are probably other ways to do it. Sycat, you were talking earlier about tabulate, I think. Do you? So the question here is to basically create an array of size n, where like each index corresponds to each value corresponds to its index. So like 0, 1, and so on. Do you see another way to do it, or?
So they are anything for each. So there is a tabulate function. Hold on, let me just look that up.
Okay, let me.
So if you
know it.
just open the base library for array.
Okay.
So if you check the tabulate function, you can pass in a function as the second parameter.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's try it. So public function init count this.
So here you say let array.
Okay.
You can return it directly.
So the tabulate, I guess, of nat, I guess. Size. So yeah, okay. We would put
size.
n.
You pass in the n itself, yeah.
And
here you pass func. Let's look at the signature once. I forget the signature.
Mm-hmm. Something like that, right?
It is taking in a nat and it is returning the a type of that will also be nat, right? Because essentially we are tabulates. This thing over here is nat. Like A over here we've passed is nat only, so it will return nat also. So if you go back there.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just trying to get.
This is absolutely fine. Just add the nat return type to the func.
Oh yeah.
No, not here. Outside. For the func itself. No. After m:\nat, no, it will again be of type nat. So basically, this is an anonymous function. Yeah.
Yeah, I ate the syntax. Okay, I got it. Yeah, so let's try it.
So you can do it with an inline anonymous function instead of creating two separate packets.
Right. Cool. So yeah, I think those are the two main ways to do it. Yeah. No, this I don't think it works. Wait, what was the challenge? I don't think it was that easy. I remember it was supposed to be more. Yeah, so the question was to find if it was to find that if any number inside the array add 7 as digit, you would found the 7. Here you're just trying to, you're just checking if there is 7, but if you have like 100, 1007, it wouldn't find it, and it would say 7 not found, but we want 7. So basically the goal, the idea was to, I don't know, there are probably multiple ways to do it, but the goal was to go through all the value inside the array. So all the numbers, you would create a textual, like you would convert the value. Let's say textual value from the NAT. Wait, let me just check the base library. Here. Yeah, so NAT to text. So you would convert that to a text. And then you can, for all the characters inside the text, for char in textual value, not chars, you can do that. So maybe here, let 7 the type char equals 7. And after you've gone through the double for loop, if you don't find 7, 7 is not found. So expected token. Okay. I think we can redeploy and check if it works or not. So let's say we have 108 and we have 1871. It should find the 7. Okay, so that's cool. Let's try without. Okay, yeah. So yeah, the trick here was to think about all the digits and not only the 7, like the NAT 7. Let me check. Do we have a new question? Okay. So challenge 4. The goal was to take an optional type, so a NAT like this one, an optional NAT, and just return n if n, wait. What was the challenge? Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, that's you have a value which is a NAT or null, and you have another value which is a NAT. And if you don't have anything inside n, you default to m. So yeah, you could use the option library. So the option library, basically what I'm asking to do is re-implementation of this function get, which unwraps an optional value. So I was trying to copy this function basically, but you could also use some function inside the option library. So the option library is a new library. I think I haven't shown this one before. It's to work with optional values. So you have things like is null, for example, option that is null. If your value is null, it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. And you have the other one is sum. You have unwrap, which takes an optional value and return the non-optional value. I don't recommend using this function. It's depreciated, so don't use it, please. Yeah, you have other functions. Like if you have a double optional value, you can remove one layer. So yeah, the right move was probably to use a switch. So if n is null, you return m, and if you have something, that's the syntax you use, you return this value. Any questions so far? Okay. Challenge 5. So challenge 5, goal was to write a function day of the week that takes a nat and return a text corresponding to the day. So like first day would be Monday, third day would be Wednesday, seventh day would be Sunday, and so on. And if your nat is higher than 7, you will return null. So that was to make you, oh, okay, that's interesting, this solution. Yeah, my idea with that was to use the switch case again. So I would have basically do a switch on the value of n, like that. Switch n, case 1, return Monday, and so on until 7. And then at the end, I would have put something like, wait, let me do it. So the goal of this challenge was basically to make you use the switch case with like more values than just a null and something, and also to use this one. So basically, this one is anything. So if you put it here, it will return always because yeah, something I haven't said. The switch case check the values like in the order that are presented. So if you have something like one, all right, can you do something like that? Wait, can you do something like that? No. Okay, looking for an example here. Well, if you put this value here, it will always return null because this symbol means basically everything. So everything, I always return null. So that's why I put it at the end. And you always need to be exhaustive in your switch case. So here, if I didn't put this one, I think it would throw an error because yeah, it doesn't do it, but it will do it. Yeah, okay. this switch does not cover all the values. So it doesn't cover 0, it doesn't cover 8, and it doesn't cover anything. So if you pass like 10, it will just don't know what to do. That's why you always need to put like this thing to handle basically all other cases like that. Okay. This symbol could be anything. Yes, it means any character. So yeah, it could be really anything. So if you put it here, it will always default to this value.
I think what the question asker is asking is, instead of underscore, can we put any random value over there? So if I could put something in there, would that catch every case? I think the answer is no.
Yeah, it's a special symbol. Like you cannot replace it. It's yeah. So I don't want to do all the challenges. I think I can like maybe do the 6th one. We have a few more minutes.
Or I sent you a link to Playground. I was imagining we could do something like this, but turns out we can't.
Okay, let me check.
If you check the link, yeah. So for challenge 10, I was imagining we could do something like this, but basically this does not work. So I think this might be a limitation of the compiler itself, because we should be able to declare the T as a shared type.
Yeah, you cannot do that. Like I know it doesn't accept the shared type here. Yeah, it's probably a limitation.
But yeah.
For
so
sure.
The actual solution is the way you're doing.
So yeah, in example number 3, wait here, I was using something instead of the, where is it? Oh, example number 4, this one. Yeah, I'm using something here, but it's a special case. I mean, here I don't choose this this symbol because I know that my value is either gonna be null or something. There is no other cases to handle. I think I could do that, but it would be useless because the value would always be in one case, this one or this one. So yeah, the Motoko compilers knows it. It says this pattern is never matched. So that's why I didn't put it here. And the something here is really different than this symbol. This symbol, I cannot get the value, you know, I cannot return the value that is inside here. So it's very different than this one where I have the value accessible here. So something is everything except null. Yeah, exactly. Something is everything. That's just a way to say that there is a value. But you can do it like that. It's not necessarily. It doesn't necessarily have to be something. You can put n if you want. You need this symbol, the exclamation mark of the optional type. It's a way to say to the compiler that there is a value here, and then you can grab the value like that. Okay. Alors, populate array. So populate array takes an array of optional nat where all values have been replaced by 0. Do not use a loop. Yeah, so the goal was to use array.map. So array.map is a value, it's a function that basically applied this function, so the second argument that you provide, to all elements inside the array. So here you have to specify the types of the values before the function and after the function. So before the function, it was optional nat, and after it's just nat. You provide the array and the function is described here. It's a switch that return 0 if there is a null and something if there is something. Yeah, so array.map is here. And is probably the most useful function of all this this library. Yeah, really useful. Okay. Let's move to challenge. Well, let's move to, well, I think we can maybe do all the challenges. We just have 7, 8, and 9. So for 7, 8, and 9, it was basically the same idea as map. I wanted you to make use of the array library with the higher order function. So here is using array.fold left. So this function also takes another function, takes an array, and basically is going to loop through all the values and apply the function with a value of type B that you can, well, how to explain that? That you can, like, you can use as a counter, for example.
So this is actually a function type called a reducer. So basically, you take an initial value and then you run the same function over all the elements of an array and you reduce all of them into a single value. So fold left actually does this starting from the beginning to the end of the array. Fold right does it in the opposite direction. So starting from the end of the array to the beginning.
And yeah, I think an example will provide more help as well. So here, it's basically calculating the sum of all the values because we initialize the counter, the value to 0. And what we do is we add nat.add. So we add all the values inside the array to 0. So at the end, we will get the sum of the array. We can test it. So maybe 5, let's say 10, and 85. So we should get 100. And that's it. Challenge 8 was also in the same vision. So you use array.map, but this time instead of mapping to a switch case, you map to the squared value. So basically you multiply n by n like that. And increase by index was also using array.map, but this time map.untrees because untrees give you access to the index. So you have 2 parameters here. You have the, so instead of having just 1 parameter of type A, like in map here, you also have another parameter of type nat, which corresponds to the index of the value. So you can add the index like that, val plus index, and you put that in the array. So that's it for the day challenge of the day 3. And yeah, good job to the person who sent the link. We don't have any question. I think we will just end this meeting.
Sure. If anybody has any questions, you can just raise your hand.
Please save and share the link back. Yes. Yeah, I will send the link in the chat for those of you who are interested. Yeah, it would make a lot of sense to have simple written examples under each function, at least for beginners like me, for sure. Yeah, this is something that needs to be done.
Are you talking about the official Dfinity
Yes.
documentation? Yeah, that is. The documentation is currently being revamped, and this is definitely some feedback that we have gotten from a lot of folks. We're working on that.
So what I understand is this documentation is auto-generated from the code itself. So they won't really have like a lot of beginner-friendly documentation. And this is mostly for reference. But yeah, I think what would be helpful is like a separate section in the documentation that very clearly explains things for newcomers. Because this entire documentation for Dfinity is mostly geared towards people who spent a considerable amount of time writing other language, like another programming language, and has some good experience coding. But yeah.
Right, thanks everyone, and see you. We have the next lecture is in a few hours about Vessel, which is a package manager for Motoko. So if you want to use like libraries from other people, you need to check this one. See you there.
Bye everyone.